Please take your seats. The program will begin shortly. Thank you. Please welcome back, Jason Gartner.
Thank you. Welcome to our final keynote of TechXchange 2023. I can't believe that we're actually here right now. So far, we have heard from venture capitalists. We heard from Dinesh talking about the role of developers in AI. We've heard from our chief scientists at IBM Research, our partners, AWS, Samsung, Intel, and some great customers we heard from, Clay Payments, Citgo, Dot Foods, Vodafone, and Comparis. And the thing which I actually enjoyed the most was watching our demos. Every single one of them was live. We saw the impact of AI as it's going to have on our daily lives, from how AI is going to impact the developer, how it's going to impact our data strategies, automation, infrastructure. We've also heard around quantum and how quantum is that next generation out there. And all of this is really about that diversity of thought, that diversity of technology and learning that we have within there to give you a broad breadth of what is really happening in the technology industry these days. The breakout sessions continue. Those will continue until tomorrow afternoon, and the sandbox remains open. And our hands-on labs, which have been at full capacity since the beginning, regardless of any internet challenges at the hotel, have been running seamlessly right from the beginning. And this is only the beginning. This was our first Tech Exchange, but I encourage all of you to go out there, join a user community, start a user community, host your own regional experience, your own regional Tech Exchange. And I do want to invite all of you back to Tech Exchange 2024. We'll be having it in October, coming to a city near you. We'll be announcing that shortly. Not many of you maybe know, but Red Hat, after the acquisition, was kept as a separate entity. And we've really treated each other as very tight partners. And that was done on purpose. That was done to respect the diversity of thought that we have and to be able to ensure that we maintain the integrity that we need, especially for our open source community. And so with that, I have the pleasure of announcing the Chief Technology Officer of Red Hat, Chris Wright. Thanks, bud. Good luck.
All right, thank you. Hey, everyone. I just got to say, I'm super excited to be here at IBM Tech Exchange, and in particular, because this is a technical audience, and that gives us the opportunity to, I'll say, really dive into the innovation and just geek out a bit. Now, I started my career as a developer, and my passion really remains with understanding the code behind our products and the latest technologies, keeping up with open source communities. And as a developer and a CTO, I can say that we are in a very exciting moment for software. Of course, I'm talking about AI. And AI and open source, they have a lot in common. Open source began, I'd say, as being maybe a bit misunderstood by the general public. while at the same time being the darling of the really hardcore engineers. And today, it is the driving force behind enterprise innovation. AI, I would say, has followed a similar path. I mean, its accessibility and purpose limited it to a pretty niche audience from the start. A specialized set of algorithms and tools that were targeted, I'd say, more at researchers and academia. That was the reality. And of course, fiction is always much more fun. So from a public point of view, AI's existence played out in science fiction movies. We had 2001, A Space Odyssey, HAL 9000, The Matrix, The Architect, The Oracle, Terminator, Skynet, Her, which I don't know if you followed this, but a bizarre variation of that theme played out recently, earlier this year, documented by a New York Times journalist. But as we all know, AI recently just burst into the public consciousness with tools and services being used by the masses with things like ChatGPT and Bard and Bing. And these big shifts in software do not happen often. But when they do happen, they change the industry. We are in the moment of AI, and it is going to redefine how we live, how we work. It will affect all humanity. Okay, so thought experiment. Think of the most popular operating systems, programming languages, and developer tools in the world today. What did you come up with? Say Linux, containers, Kubernetes, Java, Node, Go, Rust, Python, PyTorch, Ray, Jupyter, Eclipse, VS Code. Open source, I think, has paved this road of potential with operating systems and programming languages and developer tools and more that we're now seeing AI travel down. And it's creativity on a global scale that's feeding AI, and it's driven by the inspiration derived from open source innovation. So AI workloads have the potential to be big, I mean very big. And they need just the right infrastructure to not just run, but also really be used successfully. They need access to hardware accelerators, they need the ability to scale compute on demand, the ability to train and tune in one environment and then serve in another. I will say AI needs a hybrid cloud. And if companies can't execute on hybrid cloud, then they won't be able to really make the most of AI. And from this moment forward, organizations that are not able to successfully make use of AI will struggle to compete. And that's where Red Hat comes in. We're focused on enabling customers to really build an environment where they can deploy and manage any application, anytime, anywhere. And that includes AI-enabled applications. So every application, I think, needs a solid foundation. So enter Red Hat Enterprise Linux or RHEL. On a single server, RHEL provides the consistency as both hardware and software continue to evolve on either side of the OS. And as the number of applications within an organization has just grown and grown, so has the demand for a platform that could meet the needs of managing applications at large scale. So this is where technologies like OpenShift, which is built on Kubernetes, come into play. With OpenShift, companies can operate clusters of RHEL servers as a single platform for all their applications. And this connection between applications and the underlying platform have made us kind of this conduit between development teams and operations teams. And we provide the foundation from development all the way through to production for those applications to run business as long as they're needed. And this brings us back to the importance of hybrid cloud, because technology investments persist. Every time there is a new trend or innovation, there's no way enterprises can just abandon everything that they've worked on to put in place. So the next generation of technologies like AI need to work seamlessly with platforms that are already running today's businesses. So how do companies build flexibility into a choice that will be their platform? Choose a platform that will help them move through the unknown. How do they build for the IT and business challenges that will arise over the next, say, 5 years? You do it by building that flexibility into the platform from the beginning. I'll say you do it with open source. And we can help customers create a platform strategy that enables their current technology to evolve to meet new needs. And as we all know, the pace of change is just ever increasing. Technology is faster and faster, coming with new and interesting innovations more and more each day, really. And in the past, it could sort of take years to see that next big development on the horizon, and you see it for a while before it comes into full focus. But now that innovation rate, it happens so much faster and with greater allure. People get really excited, and the stakes are a lot higher. If companies are too slow to adopt new technology, they simply get left behind. We saw this happen with open source software, with cloud computing, even with automation, and now we're seeing it with AI and machine learning. IT leaders may not be using it just yet, but that's okay. I mean, the idea here is you still need to plan and get ready for it. And my guess is their business partners are already dreaming up ways to use it. I know we've seen some really cool examples of that here at TechXchange this week. So CIOs, they need to be, call it AI ready. What does that really mean? The platforms that they're building need to be flexible and scalable enough to integrate the innovations coming through the next decade. And flexibility is about having the ability to adopt innovation without the need for a new platform, not just re-platforming. Flexibility provides these consistent building blocks, like Linux, like Kubernetes, so enterprises can compose their environment and systems to really meet their business needs. So Red Hat provides the flexible platforms that helps our customers get AI ready and get ready faster. And regardless of where an enterprise is starting, our approach can help them accelerate their unique journey with the specific needs of their industry, whether they're diving headfirst into AI-enabled applications or simply following their own North Star towards simplification and efficiency. So I want to share a quick example of a customer doing exactly this. Delta chose Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS, we call it ROSA, in order to move 90% of IT to the cloud. They did this to drive better reliability and availability of their own IT systems. And better reliability in this case means better safety and a better on-time record. So think about a greatly improved customer experience. In this engagement, a consistent hybrid cloud platform enabled Delta to accelerate that move to the cloud, having the same environment on premises as in the cloud. Okay, so let's get to the fun stuff. Let's look at some of our latest innovations that will really help our customers get ready, as I've been describing. All of these products are built around delivering focused capabilities across the open hybrid cloud, centered on a theme of unifying developer, data science, and operator communities. So I want to start with how we're going to help enterprises capture the potential of AI. This spring, we introduced the work we're doing in our OpenShift AI family of products across the hybrid cloud. And our goal is to deliver the capability to efficiently train, tune, deploy, and manage AI models hand in hand with our customers' next generation applications, so AI-enabled applications. And these applications, they don't have the same requirements as traditional or even cloud-native apps. So to begin with, the models that are powering these applications need to be trained, tuned, and tested. And that has distinct compute and infrastructure demands. And for most organizations, this means that their existing data center investments aren't necessarily sufficient to support AI workloads. And this is what makes hybrid cloud not just appealing, but what I would consider a necessity when it comes to adapting AI. But there's a few challenges in here. So beyond having access to the right infrastructure, data scientists need access to the right tools and frameworks to repeatedly execute and then track experiments. Developers need to be able to then consume the resulting AI capabilities, AI-enabled applications. And operators need to be able to monitor and manage the models and AI-enabled applications in production. So to us, it's all about driving this operational consistency across stages of AI and application development. And all of this can seem like a pretty tall task when you think about the rigors, the requirements, and the pace of innovation with AI/ML. So this is why we launched the Red Hat OpenShift AI family, and it enables operations teams to deploy and manage their AI/ML infrastructure on the same foundation that they already use for cloud-native operations, which is Red Hat OpenShift. And this gives data scientists and AI/ML developers access to the tools and frameworks to rapidly iterate and then scale those AI experiments, giving them the power to bring those next generation of AI-enabled applications to life. And the flexible foundation that OpenShift AI offers is really bringing enterprises the ability to integrate not just their homegrown capabilities, but also partner offerings to really extend this platform, which allows them, in the end, it's that flexibility to compose an end-to-end system that meets the needs of their organization. And AI, it's not going to be limited to data centers or the cloud. We're already seeing it applied remotely. Applications like computer vision for vehicles or industrial automation and other uses that need these near real-time responses. OpenShift AI is the connector for wherever enterprises are running AI across the hybrid cloud, whether it's on-premises, in public clouds, or all the way out, as we're seeing now, at the furthest edge. So now let's see it in action. Please welcome to the stage Natale Vinto, who is a developer advocate lead at Red Hat.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is my first time in Vegas. I'm absolutely enjoying this experience and IBM TechXchange. And I'm also very honored to kick off this series of live demos to show you how open source and Red Hat and IBM products can help customers with the business need, with the power and the flexibility of open source. Now, I want to show you how this works in place. We have a demo of a very hot topic in the market. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, of course, Gen AI. And as we heard in today's keynote and in yesterday's keynote, Gen AI can improve dramatically performance for companies. And I want to show you how OpenShift AI embrace Gen AI and expand it with tools, with automation MLOps, and with experience. Now, I'm going to start with a data science project from an OpenShift AI interface. It's a project to convert text to image. And in order to do this, I'm going to start from an open source model that we have on Hugging Face. This is Stable Diffusion version 1.5. It's a good model that can generate a good set of images, as you can see from this example. But what we want to do is use this model and train this model and fine-tune the model with our own data, so that we can also automate the build of the model and the deployment of this model that can be served as an API. In order to do that, let me start with OpenShift Data Science and OpenShift AI. So we create our data science project, the text to image. And when you create a project, you have a list of components available. One is the workbench, where you can start working with your Jupyter notebook with all the packages that you need. And also, you have access to storage, data connection, pipeline to automate the build of the model, and also the capability to serve this model as an API. In order to get started, we can just open the Jupyter Notebook and start writing our notebook. Let me start experimenting with this model. Of course, we can check in the notebook the GPU access. We install the libraries. In this case, we're installing Hugging Face diffusers. And we start loading this model. Now, if we just start using this model and we ask to the model, hey, can you give me a picture of a dog? This is going to generate a picture of a dog, and it's going to be a random one, right? So let's see how it comes. So this is a really nice dog, as you can see, but it's still not the dog that we want. We want to train this model and with a specific dog. And let me present you Teddy. So Teddy is this nice dog from our colleague Chris Chase from the OpenShift BU that made this awesome demo. As you can see, Teddy is a big Red Hat fan, and we want to train the model to generate picture of Teddy. So if we just use the model as is, and the model doesn't know really what is Teddy, what is Teddy Red Hat, right? So it's going to try to guess it. Let's see what we have here. Oh, this is a night puppy, but it's still not Teddy, right? So we want to train this model with Teddy picture. And so we have this other notebook that we can use to fine-tune the model. So essentially, we can load all the libraries and provide to the model some pictures of some data. We'll have a tarball file uploaded into S3, so this can be used to train the model with 20 pictures of Teddy, let's say, and then we start our training. This takes a little while, so I already ran it, just to show you that when the training is finished, we can export the training in some standard format. One of these formats is the Open Neural Network Exchange, or ONNX. So it's a very popular format for exporting models, and we can do it to export the model and then save this model into some storage like S3 bucket. Let's see if now how it works with asking to the model a picture of Red Hat Teddy dog, and as you can see, it looks like more likely like Teddy. But I want to show you that we can also automate everything. So what we have done here in Notebook can be done also into a pipeline. And for this reason, let me show you here that this pipeline that we have created that can be used for download the data, fine-tune it, export to NNX, and generate sample. The cool thing is that there's a mapping between the Jupyter Notebook and OpenShift AI. When you start the pipeline is going to be started in OpenShift AI. And this takes a while, of course, because you need to fine-tune the model. But I have already run this pipeline, and I want to show you how it looks like. So we have a pipeline that download the data, fine-tune, generate a sample, export to NNX. So that's great. But it's not finished. We can also expose this model and serve it as an API. So in order to do that, let me come back to my notebook, and we can save it to S3. Now, we have an S3 available. We can use, for instance, we can use this path. Let me copy and paste. So we have it here. And because I want to show you that if you want to serve the model, you can also deploy the model in this way. So I already done it, but let me do another version of the model, text encoder 2, ONNX, and storage, and the path where the model is saved. So you can deploy this model, and you can serve this model as an internal service for the remote inference. You can use HTTP, REST, or gRPC, as we will do from this other notebook. So we can do what we call the remote inference. Let me open this other remote inference tab. Here we go. And we can use gRPC call in order to do this remote inference. Some of these tasks have been already executed. As you can see, we can invoke the internal host name for this API as we are in the same OpenShift cluster. But now I want to use this model as an API. And the prompt here is, give me a picture, a photo of Red Hat Teddy dog on the beach. So also context aware. Let's see what happens. We're going to invoke the API. We're going to extract the data, And now, this takes a little while because the remote inference is different from the loading of the local model. But this is powerful because you are not dependent from the software that need to load the model from the local dir. You can just invoke an API. And thanks to OpenShift, you can also export this API outside the cluster. You can also, for instance, add a server and decide that if you want to make an OpenShift route, any token authorization. This is used also to let other applications serve this model. Now let's see what happens. We have invoked our model, and now let's see if Teddy went to the beach. Yes, Teddy's on the beach. It's a really, really good picture of Teddy on the beach, right? So that was the first demo. Thank you. Back to you, Chris.
I love Teddy, the Red Hat fan. So we're not forgetting about automation engineers. And to help them amplify their skills, we have Red Hat Ansible Lightspeed with IBM watsonx Code Assistant. OK, so I know that's a long name, but the branding people wanted to make sure I got it right the first time. So mission accomplished. Can't promise I'll keep it going forward. And this combination brings domain-specific AI, powered by IBM's AI innovations, to Ansible. Unlike other AI-driven coding tools, Red Hat Ansible Lightspeed does not focus on application development. Instead, it addresses the rise in complexity of enterprise IT as hybrid cloud adoption grows. We've always prided ourselves on Ansible's ability to automate the hours or even days worth of work just down to minutes. And with Ansible Lightspeed, enterprises can get there even faster, regardless of their skill set. So Ansible Lightspeed is the interface between users and IBM's watsonx Code Assistant built into our VS Code extension. So it meets automators where they build automation. It's a cloud service AI model. It's built on IBM's watsonx that fuels the ability to turn natural language into an Ansible playbook task. So IBM's expertise in generative and domain-specific AI is significant, and we're leaving it to the experts to maintain and tune and refine both the service and the model powering it. I'd also like to point out that Red Hat OpenShift is running underneath watsonx, which is just a cool testament to the power of collaboration between Red Hat and IBM. You'll hear a lot more about watsonx later in this session. Our goal is to bridge the gap between Ansible YAML, code, and human language. So that means users can use their common sentences to generate syntactically correct and functional automation playbooks. Red Hat Ansible Lightspeed with IBM watsonx Code Assistant, you're welcome, marketing teams, is built with transparency and choice in mind. So it lowers the barrier of entry to conducting those low-level IT automation tasks and helps the resource-needy IT teams get their jobs done. So now we're going to show you how it works. Please welcome to the stage Matthew Jones, who's a Red Hat Distinguished Engineer, as well as our Ansible Chief Architect.
Thanks, Chris. I have to say, if you came here looking for more Red Hat Teddy, you might be disappointed. But we're going to do something interesting anyway. So imagine for a second that I'm a Linux admin, and I understand Red Hat Enterprise Linux really well, and I understand maybe Ansible pretty well, but cloud is not really my forte. Maybe I'm growing some of my experience and expertise there. And I've been tasked with standing up a Red Hat Enterprise Linux VM in Azure using my expertise. Now, what we're going to start with is, and what you see on the screen here, is Visual Studio Code loaded with the Ansible VS Code plugin. But we have added something to the Ansible VS Code plugin, and that is Ansible Lightspeed with watsonx Code Assistant. And this is going to expand my power and expertise as I'm writing automation, which you'll see here in just a second. I've configured this Ansible playbook with the standard preamble where I have the hosts and the connection, gather facts, all that's set. I've even taken some of the properties that I know and expect from that I'll need in the Azure deployment. But I've arrived here at this place where I need to write this first task. I need to create this virtual machine in Azure, and I'm just not sure what all parameters and settings and what that actually would look like. So we're going to see what Lightspeed itself can help us do with this. So I'm going to hit enter on this task. This is a standard Ansible task. We strongly recommend that people comment and provide some context for their tasks, and that's where the name field comes from, and that's what Lightspeed will use to sort of decide, hey, this is the thing that he wants to do. And you see here that Lightspeed has recommended this particular task to me based on my inputs, and I'm going to hit tab and accept that. What's great about this is that it's used the context from the variables that I set. If I were writing more tasks, it would use those tasks and the recommendations that came out of that to further refine the tasks that have come out. And what I'd like to highlight here is that it's recommended this, and it's done it in the context of the other capabilities that we have in our VS Code plugin for Ansible, where you can see inline documentation and you can get details on what these parameters mean. This comes right from the documentation for the modules. Ansible Lightspeed with Watson Code Assistant works with this to help you build automation using your expertise and the expertise of the community. If I were to go out and try and figure out how to operate on the Azure cloud from my automation on my own, something like this could have taken me 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Imagine having to do that for a full system, a full deployment and configuration, and how much time that could save you. The next thing that I want to show you is something that's really near and dear to our hearts, and that's the Lightspeed training matches. Now, when Lightspeed with Watson Code Assistant did this and it provided this recommendation for me, it also understood where that content came from. What open source repositories and content repositories contributed to that suggestion, and it gives me the top few answers here, and I can go and look at where this code actually came from and a certain level of confidence in, hey, this thing was used to help suggest generating this particular task. You can see exactly where the code came from, so I could navigate here and view the context. I get the license and a confidence score. This helps me make a decision on, do I want to use this? Do I trust it? Does it come from a place that feels comfortable for me? Everything that I've shown you right now is available to you today. It's our Lightspeed service is available and ready. It's used by several thousand people at this point. I want to take a minute, though, to show you some of the things that we're working on. Now, we've built this automation, and that's great. But what do we do with it next? We could have just built our very first playbook ever, but we may also have other Ansible that we've written. So imagine I have coworkers who have put together a network BGP collection. A collection in Ansible is a group of roles and playbooks and modules that do common things that we might always use in our playbooks and automation. And I've written this Azure prompt, but I also have all of this other content. One of the things that we're about to introduce is the Ansible content parser. And I can use the Ansible content parser to examine not just content that I've written now, but I can use it to examine content that we've also written. And one of the things that it's capable of is taking automation that we've written and transforming it based on a set of rules and policies and best practices, and it makes those changes in place and shows them to me, and I'll show you in just a second, that these are, here are some of the recommendations right in my DevTools, and here are some of the changes that we've made. And so you can come in here and see, exactly what changes would have been made by it. This is a real compelling system where we're bringing together the Ansible DevTools with Ansible Lightspeed with Watson Code Assistant to make you better at automation, to make your job easier and to do easier things. I can take this Ansible content parser and also introduce it as part of your CI workflow, where we've taken and authored all of this content, maybe thousands of lines of automation, and integrated as part of, say, GitHub Actions or your traditional CI platform. It can open pull requests based on some of the changes that it's made and suggestion. This output should look very similar there to what happened, and then provide you a way for so you can comment on it, look at what changes might have been made from a styling standpoint and a formatting standpoint, but also adhering to rules and policies that you may have within your organization. This is coming up really soon, and I mentioned this first before I get to the next section, because the other thing that's coming very soon is a deeper integration into custom models for you with Ansible automation powered by Watson X Code Assistant. It's not good enough for your organization and for your enterprise use cases to rely on community models or just whatever Red Hat or the community decides is relevant to you. If you already have automation and very specific automation using specific capabilities, you can take that information and train your own custom models. This will be available in GA very soon. And here I'm just going to walk through. This should look very similar if you saw Ruchir's talk yesterday. Now, that file that was generated, the output generated by the content parser that I just showed you earlier, it's also the input to the language training system that you see here. These files could be uploaded directly. It could be pushed to an S3 bucket or come in from the API. I already have it loaded here from something I did earlier. By loading it in, you see what new modules and automation is available to you based on your own automation that you've written. And we can see how that would contribute to it. This should look very familiar, as it's the training step for your content, your Ansible automation to inform the model. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because we don't have hours to sit here and wait. But once trained using the tests and validation procedures from Watson Code Assistant, we can see what percentage improvement we get from custom training the model with our code based on inputs that we know we'll use. And then we can deploy it, and then it will be live for you and developers within your organization to use. And here we can see again what contribution those training matches made. This represents an incredible partnership between Red Hat and Ansible Engineering and IBM Research and the Watson X Code Assistant team. We have a lot more coming up that we're excited to show you. I'd love it if you sort of stay tuned and follow along for some announcements coming up later this year and next year. But I have talked for too long, and I have not shown you any Red Hat Teddy stuff. I'm going to bring Chris Wright back to the stage. Thank you all very much.
All right. So in recent years, I'd say IT organizations have made this increasing focus on making sure that they have the right tools, these validated environments, and then on-demand services to keep their developer workflows moving smoothly. And this is not a new concept. But the demands being placed on these platforms are ever increasing, and that means that there's more and more pressure on IT teams. So they have to ensure that developers have updated tools, that the repositories are maintained, and that the underlying authentication is being managed. So the demands for this dev platform really have just, peaking. They've never been greater. And without a strong and well-maintained platform, one can see fragmentation, complexity, and even the use of unverified code find its way into production. Now, the good news is that the open source community has started to solve this challenge with Backstage, a project initially launched from Spotify. And Backstage provides the open source building blocks for creating an internal developer platform, from software libraries to machine learning models to metadata. And then we've taken it a step further with Red Hat Developer Hub. Our Developer Hub will help companies to build a world-class developer portal for their teams, guiding their choices with the best practices for their environment, making development faster and more efficient. Developer Hub adds support for key Red Hat developed plugins like authn, authz with Keycloak, a content registry with Quay, multi-cluster views with OCM, pipelines with Tecton, GitOps with Argo CD, and a bunch more. And this creates a more consistent user experience without really compromising on that application velocity. The platform also includes validated templates or golden paths, which provide opinionated, pre-architected approaches to building and deploying software from creation through to production. Red Hat Developer Hub gives IT organizations a developer platform built on open source innovation with the stability and support and reliability that they've come to expect from our hybrid cloud technologies. And the Developer Hub builds on skills IT organizations already have, might sound like a familiar story here, with integration with OpenShift. And teams are already familiar with the scale and the capabilities of OpenShift, so the Developer Hub is just an extension to them. They already know how to manage it. The teams can take what they know about their internal developer workflows and build it into a container application platform that they're already comfortable with. It's building on skills and technologies that they already have, and this maximizes what they have without having to sacrifice at all on that application innovation just to maintain stable operations. So I know you want to see it in action, so let's welcome back Natale Vinto.
All right. Thank you, Chris. I'm particularly impressed about all those technology can literally boost teams' productivity. But now I'd like to connect the dots. We've seen the data science experience. We've seen the automation engineer experience. Now I'd like to talk about developer experience. And I'd like to show you a demo using Red Hat Developer Hub and showing you how easy it is to go from code to prod thanks to Developer Hub. And for doing that, I'm going to do a demo of Red Hat Teddy. I'm going to create an application that consumes that model to generate more picture of Teddy. Let's continue on this flow. I like it. So here's the interface of Developer Hub. Again, Developer Hub is a Red Hat product that leverage Backstage upstream project for implementing internal developer platforms. So platform engineer can use Developer Hub to customize and give a great developer experience to their developers and users. As you can see, this is just the home page. Customized with the access to my OpenShift cluster I'm going to use in this demo and other links that I needed and some useful template I'm going to use in a moment. But also, I want to show you that I configure this instance with my authentication provider. In this case, I'm using GitHub because I'm simulating an organization called the Keynote demo, which has a bunch of developers, data scientists, automation engineers that need to get involved into project. So I did this mapping, and then this comes from one of the supported plugins from Red Hat. And also, I can show you that those new developers can get started into project thanks to the learning paths, if they need to learn more about AI, ML, if they need to learn more about Python or any other programming language. But the most powerful thing of Developer Hub is our golden path templates. So as we learned from Chris, those are guided paths that really brings you from code to prod. And you can pick any of these. Like you can create Ansible job for great developer experience or for automation engineer. But you can also create a template with your favorite programming language like .NET, Go, Node.js, Java, whatever. For this demo, I create a Python template, a custom Python template. And I can filter by context. This is a data science template. Let me show you also what is under the hood a template. Essentially, a template is a Backstage template where you define how you want to scaffold your software, your project. You can fulfill with some parameter or ask to the user the input, and then you can provide also some pre-built info or also info like things like the source code of the app, the manifest describing this app, and to bring all the automation. So let me do this live with you. I'm creating a new project. I need to develop this Python application to create more Teddy images. And I'm going to put some parameter. I'm going to deploy in this namespace. This is my user. I'm going to create a container image and store in this OpenShift cluster. Of course, this is a parameter that I'm using. What happens here is Developer Hub API are invoking, in this case, GitHub API to scaffold those repository and create the skeleton of the project. Now, in the terminology of Backstage, this is a component. As you can see, our project has been scaffolded. So what we have here is some source repository containing our Python application. This comes from the scaffolder modules. But it's not the only one. We can go back here. We can see that a GitOps repository has been created. And this GitOps repository contains things like, we need a pipeline to create a container image for this app. We need a manifest to deploy those applications on Kubernetes. This is a complexity I'm avoiding to my developers and users. And thanks to Red Hat plugin support, there are plugins like the CI plugin, which is using Tecton to build pipeline and build container image in the cluster, but also the GitOps plugin, which is using Argo CD to deploy this application in the cluster. There are other plugins we're supporting, like the Kubernetes plugin, so you have all the evidence of what's going on in this cluster. So you don't have to be a Kubernetes expert to just get started and start coding, right? There's also a nice feature like an API list, a dependency list with a graph. There's very, very, very cool stuff to get started. And while this goes, of course, it takes a moment to finish the pipeline. I want to show you the Teddy app already deployed so we can have a quick look. So this has been already deployed, and I can show you that the Argo CD plugin is nicely mapped into OpenShift. So we're using OpenShift GitOps to deploy this application into OpenShift. And also, as you can see here, there's another very cool plugin called the topology plugin. So you have an evidence of what's going deployed into this cluster, where is your app, where is your pod, where is your service. And then there's also a mapping into the cluster. So you can click, you are logged in with the same GitHub user in the cluster, and here's our Teddy app that we can use for and see. So I'm gonna use the Teddy app because I want to show you how it works. This is just invoking that model API that we published before with OpenShift AI. So I'm gonna generate some picture of Teddy on the beach. This is using threads, so I'm generating more picture of Teddy, and let's see what's going on. Oh, looks. That's nice picture. Teddy's going on the beach and literally having fun. Before we close, I want to show you also another iteration I did for Teddy. I asked to the model to generate a picture about Teddy in Las Vegas playing slot machines, and here's the result. So that's funny. Thank you all. Back to you, Chris.
All right. Teddy's feeling lucky. So thank you to Natale and Matthew, and I hope you enjoyed seeing how we're delivering these focused capabilities across the Open Hybrid Cloud that are centered on the theme of unifying developer, data science, and operator communities. And as I stated earlier, AI and open source have a lot in common. In fact, open source has had a huge impact on IBM's development of watsonx. So now it is my pleasure to welcome IBM Distinguished Engineer and Director of Open Technology, Brad Topol, to talk about open source and watsonx.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure for me to be here today to talk more about open source and its impact on the development of watsonx. Let me first show you a slide that you've probably seen earlier at earlier keynotes, and quickly just show you the generative AI stack. At the top, we've got some tools, some AI assistant tools. We actually use several of those tools inside the company where we had an internal watsonx hackathon challenge. We had 168,000 IBMers participate. I got to be a judge for that contest, and they were able to use tools like Watson Orchestrate and Watson Assistant to build amazing things. If you look a little lower in the stack, we have SDK and APIs. And the bottom 3 layers are where you'll see most of our open source, the AI and data platform, and the data services, and of course, the hybrid cloud AI tools. IBM has tailored our AI initiatives around 4 core principles: open, targeted, trusted, and empowering. Open. watsonx is based on the best open technologies available. Leveraging open allows us to innovate faster and to drive flexibility in deployment. Targeted. Targeted means it's designed for the enterprise and targeted for business domains. It's curated models and its open source models provide the best options for customers to ensure that they've designed their solutions to drive business outcomes and that it's not just for creative writing experiments. Trusted. It's responsible and governed. Our models are built using curated data with security and transparency to meet regulatory demands. Empowering. watsonx provides the best open technologies and combines them with its with its studio tools to provide a platform that's not just for users, but enables you to be a value creator. So why is watsonx based on open? Well, being based on open gives you access to the best AI, the best innovations, and the best models. With an open approach, you have the world's experts from different companies collaborating together. Now, I've been working in open source for over 10 years, so I've gotten to see the magic that can happen in an open source community with a great ecosystem. A great example of this is Kubernetes, which is the foundation for OpenShift. When I went to the first Kubernetes conference, there were 500 people. The most recent conferences have over 11,000 people. That's a large number of contributors, a large number of world's experts working together, and the speed of innovation that occurs when that happens is just incredible. In addition, an open community leads to collaboration on models, which results in faster model development and higher quality. In fact, we recently announced a collaboration with Hugging Face and watsonx to help enterprises build, deploy, and customize foundation models across multiple domains. And now a little bit more about our watsonx product line. watsonx is our enterprise-ready AI and data platform running on OpenShift. It provides cloud-native-based software stacks for training, validating, tuning, and serving AI models. Let's quickly highlight just a few of the open source projects that make up watsonx. Codeflare. Codeflare provides easy-to-use abstractions for data scientists that enable them to queue, deploy, and scale machine learning workloads on the OpenShift platform. It integrates Ray, CubeRay, and PyTorch to provide these capabilities. PyTorch provides tensor support, GPU support, and distributed model training support. K-serve Model Mesh enables the platform to serve both large models and large numbers of small models efficiently and at scale on OpenShift. Presto is a robust open-source distributed SQL query engine capable of querying large data sets and residing directly in distributed storage. Presto provides data gathering and analytics for data stored in data lakes, data warehouses, and other data sources. But enough talking. Let's see it in action. Chris already did a great job of showing you how watsonx can accelerate Ansible development using Watson Code Assistant. We thought it'd be cool here to demonstrate how you can leverage watsonx to modernize existing applications. Please welcome to the stage Sujay Rao, Chief Product Officer for Sirion, to show you what we've achieved so far.
Thank you, Brad. Hi, everybody. I'm not even going to try and compete with what Natale did with Teddy. It's unwinnable. But I'm here to introduce myself. I'm the Chief Product Officer for Sirion, and I'm going to talk about Sirion's relationship with IBM. IBM is a customer, an esteemed customer of Sirion, and we are also their ISV partner. And who's Sirion? We are an AI-powered contract management company serving a global base of customers for over 10 years. Let me actually give you a little more details into contract management. What is it? For the tech audience that's here, you're developers and technologists. You have purchased third-party software in the past. I'm sure you've had specific expectations on service levels and payment terms and data confidentiality, security, et cetera. How do you keep track of all of that and ensure that those obligations are being met after you've signed off on the contract? And for those of you watching online or here in the audience, you're providing IT services or you're selling software products. I'm sure you've also created plenty of SOWs and MSAs in the past. How do you then ensure that you're able to create contracts that maximize your revenues while minimizing your risks? That's where Sirion comes in. We provide contract visibility, risk mitigation, automation, and ensuring that you're getting the best bang for your buck. And if you're curious, where does AI play a role in our products? We're heavily a document-heavy process. It's text in, text out. We use AI in all aspects of the product, from data extraction to contract generation and risk analysis. Let me now provide you 3 reasons why Sirion chose IBM watsonx.ai as our AI infrastructure partner. First, I want to tell you, and you're seeing it on the screen here, Gen AI is fundamentally changing how users interact with all kinds of software. It is the new interaction layer, not just for contract management, but pretty much all software out there. And in the case of contract management, for example, users are going to just come into the software and they're going to ask for drafting a contract simply by chatting with an AI chatbot. And I'll show you that a demo real quick. Second, Gen AI is also completely changing how workflows are automated in the enterprise. I love setting up complex workflows. Said no one ever, right? Everybody hates it. No more static or hard to manage workflows. For example, in contract management, let's just say that an agreement is coming too close to its renewal date. The AI is going to be able to automatically generate the first draft for the renewal term, send it off to the right people, and then create review and approval tasks. That's the power of Gen AI when combined with workflows. We call it intelligent workflows. And last but not the least, we have also realized that using a single LLM is not going to cut it. You have to use a multi-modal, multimodal approach. We've already seen some LLMs doing really good with text generation, whereas there are other LLMs out there that are doing better with Q&A functionality or text summarization. Ultimately, we've realized that it comes down to the use cases involved and the tasks that need to be done by the LLMs. And that's where the multi-modal approach is becoming more and more apparent. I'll give you an example. Let's just say you fed the AI an image of a contract, and you asked it to highlight risks. It might use one model to convert the image into machine-readable text, another model to search for risk, and then a third model to summarize the findings. That is really how we have architected the Sirion application with watsonx under the hood. Let me talk to you about the journey that Sirion has gone through with its AI journey. So as you can see here on screen, why did we end up choosing watsonx? We were historically hosting and deploying custom BERT models and NLP for many of our AI capabilities. In fact, we have over 350+ BERT models in our product. But we are now on a journey of cutting over to Gen AI and using multiple LLMs, as we were just alluding to earlier. So just to reiterate the reasons and why we've headed upon this journey, as Brad pointed out earlier, and we've also heard this from our own customers, enterprises really want Gen AI that is contextual. It's easily augmentable with their own data, but it has to be in a secure environment, and it has to be trustworthy, and it has to be explainable. I was also saying in the previous slide, we did not want to lock ourselves up into a single LLM. We needed a studio environment where we could host, fine-tune, validate, and deploy multiple small and large language models at speed without having to worry about the AI infrastructure. And that's where IBM watsonx comes into play. Third, we absolutely want to leverage the LLMs that are being introduced by the open source community. Some of the models that are out there are as good or probably better than the commercial ones. And for those of you that are open source contributors, a tip of the hat for you. I'm now going to be moving over to the demo desk, and I'll give you a quick demo of how we have embedded and productized watsonx into the Sirion application. I hope the demo gods are smiling on me today. What you're seeing on screen here is the Sirion contract management application. Let's just assume for a second that I'm an end user. Maybe I'm in procurement. Maybe I'm in finance. Maybe I'm in legal. I have pulled up an IT contract up here on screen, and I'm going to ask a series of questions to Watson Assistant. That's the chat user interface that you're seeing here. Watson Assistant is now, through APIs, it's talking to watsonx.ai in the background. So I'm just going to ask it a series of questions, right? Is there a data confidentiality? I'll make some typos, that's OK. And then I'm going to ask this question. And it's thinking about it. Yes, and as you can see here, and I'm going to read it out in case it's tiny. Yes, there is a data confidentiality clause in the cloud agreement, and then the LLM goes on to give you more answers. I could be someone that's worried about, is my data secure and private? So how do I know? So I could just ask a question. Is my data secure and private? I ask this question to the LLM. By the way, we're using Llama 2, fine-tuned Llama 2 as the LLM that's hosted on watsonx.ai. And as you can see here, the answer is based on the context provided. The answer is yes. Your business data and personal data is safe and secure. I'm going to give it one last question. Let's just say I'm unhappy with this supplier or vendor. Can I terminate for cause? Can I terminate for cause? And let's see what it says. Yes, and it says you can terminate based on for cause, including breach of contract and undue representations. So there you go. I just wanted to give you a very brief demo of how Sirion has embedded watsonx.ai in an application. That brings me to the close of my demo, but I wanted to bring back Chris and Brad back on stage.
All right. Thank you.
Of course, Sujay.
Thanks, Sujay, for the great demo. My method has been a little different. I just weigh the contract, and I know if it's heavy, I'm getting taken advantage of. And if I can't understand it, I ask Magic 8 Ball. So this is a much more accurate way to do it. So Red Hat is a huge proponent of open source, and super excited to hear what IBM is doing with watsonx. So I know AI has garnered so much attention and hype. So I got a question for you, Brad.
Yeah.
What do you think is in store for the future of open source, and what is it going to bring into the AI world?
Oh, great question. So I think we're going to see what we've seen happen in other important communities like Kubernetes. You're going to see lots of different projects, each of which has incredibly speed of innovation from all the world's experts coming together. And so what you're going to need from Red Hat and IBM is us looking at all those different projects and weaving them together into a platform for you that's both secure and enterprise strength.
I can resonate with that one.
Yep. Now I got a question for you.
Of course.
Chris, how do you see AI helping to modernize existing applications?
Actually, I love that question because we spend so much time thinking about AI for the net new. So what can we do for what we have today, running the business? Well, IBM's already presented an example of this that I think fits helping modernize applications, which is rewriting code. So take our old COBOL and transform it to modern Java as an easy example. I also see the potential for getting deep into understanding the code and helping developers refactor code. So you think about a monolith that you want to break into smaller pieces and deploy as a set of services. And then another one would be replacing either heuristics or bespoke business logic, which would be hard-coded into the application, into an inference engine or intelligence, building those intelligent apps. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ways we can help modernize with AI. And I'd say broadly, open source it's the best way to stay relevant, to stay effective, to be ahead of the curve. It drives innovation, as we've shown here. It enables collaboration, and basically, it's just cool. But using open source isn't enough. So we need you to help us make it better. So today we have a challenge that we wanted to leave you with, which is become an open source contributor. Don't just fork the code, don't just use the code, help to build it, and be an active part of the AI revolution.
Yep. And finally, one quick reminder, the point of TechXchange is to get your hands on a keyboard. Experts are waiting in the TechXchange sandbox to help you level up. Thanks, and I'll see you on the show floor.